let's get into this topic. You posted on Instagram that a recession is coming. Hot take. Can you please elaborate on that?
Yes, this will go into the files of, oh my God, I don't think Ian is right. And then when it happens, we can catalog it. So between having a World War III potentially right now, a flattening yield curve, a weak job market, and now people in any market don't like when things are not stable or safe. So please write that down. The market has the highest probability of going up when there is safety in the market. And now because the entire world is now teaming up against Russia, and then China came in at the last minute with the Union Pay to allow them to be back on a payment platform. This is getting really scary. This looks like a movie where I'm waiting for The Rock to come in and save it and be like, hey, everything's going to be fine. He's going to choke out Putin. Game over, right? We are entering scary times. So anytime, and I know some of you are going to be like, hey, we need 2 consecutive quarters of GDP lagging. True. But that is a lagging indicator of when it happens. So a lot of times, if for those of you remember 2007 and 2008, when gas prices shot up like crazy and the job market weakened, you can feel it before we got there that something was really wrong. And we're back in that space again. I told you guys last year, if NFTs are going up, options are going up, companies that are not that great are going up double. They are allowing you to get money last year to prepare for the winter that may come for 2 or 3 years. And then we're going to have another one inside of 27. Please be very careful. I know this is something that we don't want to hear, but what to do? I always tell every creator, every business person, focus on growing your business and invest at the same time. Build your base. It's a great time to build a base and you'll be good. Will it be scary as hell? Yes, but it looks like a recession is coming if they do not get this Russia situation handled very quickly.
Talk about the China situation, which you had, you talked about it briefly, but can you elaborate on that?
I mean, now we're entering a season where the wars that are fought are economic wars of terrorism. So now Visa, MasterCard, Apple cut off the payment flow for Russia, right? And then China comes in and says, hey, you can use Union Pay. So before, when China was being quiet on their perspective on what they should do if they're allied to Russia or not, you always need to follow the money trail. So if they are now an ally, shout out to ally, to Russia, what does that mean? It goes back to my theory that I've been saying forever. If they team up, it could be disastrous. Now, I think the strategy that the rest of the world took was brilliant because the new wars are not going to be fought with bombs and missiles. They will be fought, they will be fought financially. And this is why crypto is incredibly important. I know you guys were saying before, hey, Vitalik is not going to chime in. You need to go look and see what cryptocurrencies are backing Russia silently.
Yeah.
Not going to say Ethereum is one of them, but you should go look. And Coinbase said they won't take Russia off of their platform as well. You have to be very mindful what people are hiding this money and what those allegiances and ties may be.
I think that's the interesting. I mean, you touched on a bunch of things, and so like really quickly. So the Visa and MasterCard ban, it was like obviously this is obviously a payment processing company, and so that's American, right? But they said that the domestic transactions can still happen. So if they're inside of Russia, they can still use it. Obviously, internationally, you can't use it anymore. The interesting thing is like what you said with that China Union Pay. It was like, wait, this is the country obviously that we've been speaking about that has been tied to them for so long, stepping up to the bat when they needed them. I think the crypto piece is very interesting though, because if you look at it, people are saying, hey, Coinbase, hey, Binance, you should restrict the amount of crypto that's allowed in Russia. That kind of defeats the purpose of cryptocurrency. And so it's like, what are you supposed to do? You can't cut them off because it obviously the blockchain technology doesn't use it, but the people want now to use Bitcoin as a thing like, hey, we're going to stop it. Last week, we talked about how people were funding and sending money to Ukraine through cryptocurrency. But the other end of that is that there might be people that could be sending money to Russia the same way, right? So you can't really ban it. So it's an interesting time, man. Like right now, watching all this is really, really, really intriguing. And we should be paying attention to these little things. I'm glad that he brought up that China Union Pay situation, because that was kind of like a 1-minute article. That's a very big piece of news.
It's a very interesting time that we're in right now. And shout out to my bro, Dave Gross. I had like an hour and a half conversation with him yesterday. If anybody doesn't know who Dave Gross is, that he's a extremely successful businessman. Used to work on Wall Street for 20 years. But you might know him from being Nipsey Hussle's business partner. He was the guy you see with Nipsey Hussle all the time, who was really educating Nip on a lot of things, especially on the real estate side. So I was speaking to him, and he was saying, like, there's a shortage of investments out there, like, where people can really put their money. And he was like, you don't know how many people hit me up and starting these funds to buy artists' music, like artist catalogs, because there's not a lot of place to get good returns on your investment right now. So people was looking at all kinds of alternative ways to invest money, and like musical catalogs. This is where the NFT thing comes into play. Real estate is already, way overvalued. Stock market, is in trouble right now. Cryptocurrency has been falling. So it's an interesting space right now. And this is another conversation, but goes back to like valuations on companies, people looking to buy companies and stuff like that. People are just looking to spend money on things that they can get a good return on their investment on, because it's not easy to get a good return on investment, especially large sums of money. So it's interesting times that we're in. And this Russia-Ukraine situation doesn't look like it's going to be over anytime soon. Yeah. Even though they've put a lot of pressure on Russia's economy, on the oligarchs, it's being felt. But Putin is he's still playing the game to win. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But if China gets more involved, then that's going to give them more time. Like if China just would be not involved at all, I think it would be over pretty quickly.
Over fast.
As long as China keeps giving them lifelines, they're always going to be in the game.
Yeah, and one of the things we talked about, speaking of where people can invest their money, and we spoke about it last week, was commodities. And literally, like when Jess was on, shout out to Jess, when she was like, "Yo, oil's going to 120," and when she texted me last night, like it's at 140. I'm like, wow, like we said it, and then I asked her to repeat it just to make sure, and yeah, she did. But also, nickel. Did you see nickel today? All-time high for nickel commodity. I remember going to see Robert Kiyosaki in like 2007. He had a speech in a seminar in New York City, and the whole seminar was about nickel. That's all he was talking about. Like, you should invest in nickel, because everybody was already investing in gold as a commodity. But he was like, "Yo, nickel's the next thing." And so to see it hit an all-time high today, I was just like, man, this is pretty interesting. And we spoke about it. Like literally when we spoke about it Monday, I watched some of the news outlets Tuesday. Everybody's talking about commodities.
Absolutely. And copy Jess. I want to be very clear, because no one was calling that. Shout out to Jess. She'd been such a call tonight, but that's crazy. Like, so when we're telling you guys these pieces of information, please use them to your advantage. And even with nickel, going back to your point, when Kiyosaki was doing those tours, in Money Master the Game, one of Kyle Bass's favorite strategies, if he could, he would put every dollar that he could into nickel. So you have to have the right kind of diversification. And true diversification isn't retail, oil, gold, crude, EV, tech. Diversification, truly, like when you talk to people inside of hedge funds or family offices, is to make sure that no matter what happens with your portfolio, that you are positive. And Ray Dalio tapped on it a little bit with the all-weather strategy. That's not the real strategy that they used at his firm. But you have to make sure, even if the world falls apart, that you're able to print and produce money. And going back to your point, Rashad, capital allocators have to put money to use regardless. So they can't just sit on $500 million, $3 billion, $14 billion. They have to put the money somewhere. You guys have to continue to look. And that's why I always tell you, look at every asset class top to bottom. There is a market somewhere that is going to boom at some time if you find it.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.